Good morning, everybody. This is Robin from Roaming with Rover. Thank you so very much for joining us live this morning. Where's my thing? Here's my thing over here. And right off, I will remind everybody that I always apologize. I am not ignoring my guests. When I look down, it is because I am half blind, and I always have to look at my tablet in order to read the comments because the words are bigger. And people go, you're not looking at you're not paying attention. You're not. And I am. I'm paying better attention so I can actually see what is going on over here. And I am not ignoring you, Alexa. I promise.
No problem.
Turn the volume down over here. We are here this morning with Alexa from Tin Can Knits. We're so very, very excited. Why is this not? There we go. Now it's working. Good morning. I'm so excited. We are also very excited to have you here. So, Alexa, is that right? I thought I heard the sound do something weird. We had last week, the sound did some, it just freaked out on us, and we literally had to stop everything and start over. Technology was not playing nice. But it seems to be happy this morning. Good morning, Bonnie K. Hi. There we go. That's better. Okay. Good morning, Alexa. Thank you so very, very much for joining us today.
It's good to be here.
Thanks. Good. We were so very excited that you agreed to join us today and talk to us all about the wonderful Tin Can Knits. Hello, Pamela. We have so many people that are excited to learn about you and your company and all the wonderful things that you make. Good morning, Cheryl. Oh wow, Cheryl's one of those. This is middle of the night for her. I was telling Alexa how excited everybody was when I mentioned that you were going to be my guest today, and so this is just such a special treat for us to have you here. Can you tell us how you guys began?
Yeah, so I work with design partner Emily, and she currently lives in the UK. She's in Scotland, and but we met here. She's from here as well. I'm in Vancouver, Canada, and we met working at a yarn shop. And we decided, it's kind of indicative of our whole partnership, where she said we should design a pattern together. And I said, no, we should do a whole book. So that was our first book that we did. It was called 9 Months of Knitting. And I was pregnant with my first baby when we were writing that one. Yeah. And then I felt like every time we did something new, she would move further away. Because first she moved to the island, which is a ferry ride away from me. And then she moved to the UK, which is a little further.
A little further. Well, that's why I had it in my head that you guys were in the UK. Because somewhere on the website, I saw a UK address.
Yeah. Okay. Emily's over in Edinburgh.
All right. That's why I was thinking the time zones were going to be way, way different. All right. Okay. So you guys met.
Isn't really a problem. It's more the time zone that's a problem because she's 8 hours ahead of me.
Right. That's what I was thinking. Okay. So you guys met working together in a yarn store. So then were you both teaching?
I was doing a bit of teaching, and we were both doing a little bit of designing. So Emily likes to start hard. So she was designing lace shawls right from the beginning.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, a simple scarf, a few cables, nothing too serious. Yeah. We're kind of still like that. If you see any of our simpler stuff, it's probably me.
Yeah, that's what I always, let's find something that Robin can figure out how to do. I look at the beautiful, very, very intricate stuff, and I go, okay, where's the easy stuff? We've got some folks in here who are knitters, and they put out some of the most beautiful yarning. Good morning, yarning. There's one. She's one of those. She's one of your diehard fans. She's one of the ones that was jumping up and down last night when I mentioned your name. So she's one of the ones that's going to be going and looking at Emily's designs.
She's on the Emily side.
Yeah, she's on the Emily side. So that's really, what a cool way. And it's also, I mean, it's fortuitous that you did connect, because I would think that if you guys are both kind of designing the same types of things, that you'd be not only tripping over each other, but then you would limit your audience.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
It's interesting. When we first started, you could really tell whose designs were whose, and we would put our names on them. But over the years, like, it's become so much more collaborative that sometimes we can't really tell whose design is whose anymore.
Oh, nice.
This one is mine. It's a simpler one. It's called the Mountain Mist sweater. And it started as a swatch by Emily that she photographed. And I was like, oh, I think I'm going to turn it into a sweater. So it's like a little both always now. Especially when it comes to pattern writing. It's very back and forth all the time.
That is so beautiful. I love that. I was telling her this morning that I immediately saw hearts in that. I saw a string of hearts across there. And then she told me it was mountains. And even after she told me it's mountains, I still see hearts in it. Isn't it funny? Isn't it funny what
in the eye of the beholder, for sure.
Yeah. So nice. So you guys did your first book together, and I think it's amazing that I think it is amazing that someone can go, let's write a book. Just right off the bat, let's write a book.
Should do a whole collection. It's no problem. We can totally do this.
And even how to figure out how to make an idea turn into a book. I mean, that's a pretty big undertaking on its own.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's true. We'd only done single patterns up to that point, so it was only 9 patterns. We kept it a little bit tight for the first one.
Yeah, only 9 patterns. So just then, so how many books do you guys currently have?
I think it's 8 now.
Okay, I think that's what I came up with. And then
our most recent one was Lazy Sunday. It was our cable collection that came out in the fall.
Okay, Lazy Sunday. Oh, it's so pretty. All of your books they're just so cool. And where can we purchase your books?
So we're all ebooks now, so you can get them from our website, tincannknits.com.
Oh, nice.
And you can find them on Ravelry as well.
Ravelry. We were just talking all about Ravelry. Yeah. Ravelry. Okay, so what was I going to write down? Oh, tincannknits.com, right?
Yep.
Is that what you just told me?
That's us.
And that's the website. And then I also linked down below in the description box, you guys, is the is the YouTube channel. Did y'all know they've got a YouTube channel? I knew, because thank you so much, Cheryl. Thank you so much. In their YouTube channel, they have knitting lessons, easy beginner knitting lessons. Guess who's been looking at those? Because you guys know the saga of the knitter. I'm getting there. Yes, I am. But okay, so you can go to their website for the ebooks. You can go to Ravelry for their ebooks. And then on Ravelry, it's just Tin Can Knits, correct?
That's right.
Okay, Tin Can Knits on Ravelry. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And you've got a bazillion, we discovered last night, a bazillion individual patterns on Ravelry.
Yep. All of our books you can get single patterns as well. So they're all there. But yeah, we've been at this for almost 12 years now. So long time. Yeah.
How on earth do you have that many ideas in your head?
I always think that people think of ideas as like a pool, but it's really more like a well. Like they just keep coming.
Nice. That is That's neat. And all of your stuff, somebody was saying last night, and this I found this to be a highly, I don't know the word, but this was a compliment that somebody gave you. And I really wanted you to hear this. The reason that they found you to be so popular is because you guys keep up with the times. A lot of knitters, a lot of knitting designers have something in their head, and all of their designs look the same for always and forever. And that your stuff stays with the times, and it stays valid. And that's why your guys' patterns and your guys' company stays relevant. And I wanted to make sure that you heard that compliment, that was something that was important to them. Yeah.
Okay.
And so I just wanted to make sure and pass that compliment on to you guys. So, excuse me.
Thanks so much.
So tell me, okay, so Cheryl says she loves knitting, especially cables. Of course, cables scare the bejesus out of me. I have even seen, and I'm sure this is no big deal to you guys, you knitters, but I have seen people do cables without a cable needle. They just let the stitches lay there with not even holding up. No.
We have a tutorial on that if you want to give it a try.
No, I do not. I do not.
Emily and I always do things differently, I find. So she doesn't use a cable needle. She just lets the stitches hang and it's fine. And I always use a cable needle.
Thank you.
So there's no wrong way in knitting.
That makes me feel much better. So well written, boy, that's a big thing too. That is a big thing.
That's what we've been working on.
Yeah. Dress them up and down.
Definitely the pattern writing. Try to make it as clear as we can. And also, I mean, the idea is not to scare people off. I mean, cables look scary, but we're a can do attitude type of people.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest, I have done a cable
to instill some confidence in you.
I actually did a cable 100 years ago, the first time around when I tried to learn how to knit. I needed to do, I had to make something for a grandbaby that was coming. And what was it? Did I make a little tiny sweater, and it had a cable, and we were talking about, because I'm left-handed and the cable was supposed to be here and it ended up over here, but it was fine. And it really wasn't that bad. It wasn't that scary. And I have to keep telling myself, in knitting as in crocheting, it's one stitch at a time. Don't look at the whole project. It's just one stitch at a time. But it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. It's scary, but it wasn't that bad. And then I see these projects where it's just masses of cables all over the whole thing. I'm like, yeah, we won't be doing that one. But
no harder though. It's still just one stitch at a time.
It's still just one stitch at a time. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, I think I can. I think I can, yarning. Potato chips. No. I think there's, knitting is beautiful, and it is definitely harder than crochet. It's definitely harder. I think it takes,
I don't know.
I think it is, why is it harder? It's the dropped stitch. It's the dropped stitch. If a dog jumps in my lap while I'm crocheting, nothing breaks. If I drop a stitch, I'm like, ugh. But that's really fair. The scariest part. That's the scariest part. And if I have to throw my crochet down and run to do something, I just pick it up again. Worst case, I've lost my place in my pattern. You can't do that with knitting. But there are things that just look better knitted. And I mean, us crocheters don't really like to say that out loud. But the reality is,
like a crocheter secret.
Yeah,
that's funny.
There are knitted There are crocheted socks, but let's face it, crocheters, they're just not the same as knitted. They're just not. And there's just, there nothing beats a beautifully knitted sweater. And I crochet sweaters all the time. I love, love, love my crocheted sweaters. But yeah, but I'll tell you what, I truly think crocheted, I just think knitting a blanket is just such a huge undertaking, where crocheting a blanket just seems more natural.
Crochet and blankets are meant to be, really.
Yeah. I think crochet and blankets go together. I think knitting and blankets is just too huge.
It's big. It's big. That's why a lot of people do it in pieces, I would say.
Yeah, that's true. That makes sense. So I kind of think they both have their own places. Yeah.
I know how to crochet, but when my aunt was teaching me, I didn't end up learning this time, but I was like, so where does the needle go? Because in knitting, it's very clear. It goes into the next stitch, right? You know where it goes. And she's like, oh, you just pick a hole. And I was like, that cannot be correct.
No.
I can't do it.
Not quite. Not quite.
So you stick with it.
Just pick a hole. Almost to a degree. To a point that works, until you get to some of the more specialty stitches. That does work. Yeah. I love that. But okay, I like that. And that kind of relates to the laid backness of crochet compared to the school marmness of knitting.
I can't believe you said that about knitting. No, I'm just kidding.
That's so funny. That is so funny. The drop stitch. Oh, that's true. You are right. She's saying when you mess up in crochet, you're ripping back to the repair. And if you know how to fix a drop stitch, then you can fix it. That's one of those things you got to learn how to do right off the bat. Okay. So where did you learn how to knit?
Oh, I was like 15 and I like to do a lot of crafty things. And so I said decided I would like to learn how to knit. And so my mom got me some acrylic yarn, and I was actually double pointed needles. So I had to put elastics on the end, and a stitch dictionary, which wasn't really designed to teach people how to knit per se. So I have a bit odd technique. I throw with my left hand, which is not really a style of knitting. But if you do anything enough times, it's fine. And so I started out, I knit, a wobbly scarf that sort of starts like this and like this. And then it kind of straightens out at the end. And then I started knitting. I knit these really ugly blankets, like really ugly. So they were just like these strips of fabric that I was knitting, but they each had a different stitch to them. So they'd be like, one would be cables, one would be lace, there'd be texture, whatever. So I would knit these like 6-foot bands and then sew them together. And then those would be my blanket that I made. But it was good. It helped me learn how sort of the math works and, gauge and things like that in a not critical environment. When you're knitting ugly blankets, it's fine.
Yep, we all have ugly things we see at the beginning.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome. And you stick with it, even though you had the ugly stuff at the beginning.
Oh yeah, I was hooked. I'm not sure I knew they were quite as ugly as they were until later. But.
That's funny. Yarning, I don't understand your question. I would like to know, what is one of their patterns that she hasn't the most of? I'm intrigued by your question. Could you the most of? Maybe. Could you clarify your question, because I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by your question. Could you clarify what it was? So you kind of just figured it out on your own when you were a teenager. So someone didn't, it wasn't grandma sitting at your knee.
Nope. And my grandma made pies and cleaned floors. Those were her specialties.
Oh. Okay.
That's what she would tell you anyway.
Do you make pies?
I don't. I make terrible pies because she made them.
Right. Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
My mom does lots
that's
of
the way it
crafty
goes.
stuff though.
They
She's like
either
quilting, all
Oh,
that
yeah.
stuff.
Okay.
But
Okay, interesting. So you taught
knitting.
yourself to knit and turned into a designer. That's really interesting. So I'm really excited that the two of you connected and started design. What's your favorite type of thing to design? Do you
I'd
like
say sweaters right now. Like
Okay.
I started with smaller things and now I pretty much just want to do sweaters all the time.
Wow. Do you prefer the
Because
top
of all.
down?
It's a tough call. There's sort of pros and cons to both. The nice thing about bottom up is the yoke is the hard part to design. So once you've got a body and sleeves, you're not really going to give up at the yoke. But top down, like that's right away the hard part. So
Mm-hmm.
tough call.
Got that part
Um,
done.
yeah. When I'm knitting, top down is a little easier because you can try on better as you go,
Mm-hmm.
which is
That's what
nice.
I was thinking as a knitter.
Yeah. Um, but bottom up, the one of the hardest things to get right is the neckline. A little bit
Mm-hmm.
too loose, a little bit too tight,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you do bottom up, you can just rip back a tiny bit and try again, which is another benefit. But yeah, try on as you go is pretty great.
And as you go, some of the things that scare me as a knitter. I mean, there's so many things that scare me, and in crochet as well. I can't pick color, so almost everything I make is one color because I can't choose color unless I buy a kit. But the other thing that scares me, and it's the same in crochet, it's like the idea of knitting or crocheting two sleeves that are like, let's say stripes, for instance. If I had dark gray, light gray, whatever, black, and then have the color end at the same place. Because in theory, I'm going to count rows, but we know how that's going to go. And
it's easier with stripes. You get shorter rows to count.
Yeah. But I know they're not going to look the same. And I see these people, every time I look at stripes on them, I'm like, how did you do that? How did those come out the same? I am in awe. The simplest things just stymie me. And when I see something like you where you've got all this beautiful stuff, and I'm just like, how does that? It's all magic to me. It's all just magic. Good morning, Batman. Yeah. So it's all just magic to me. But I will say counting rows in knitting is often easier than counting rows in crochet, unless you're doing a very simple kind of a stitch. I will give you that in knitting.
That's funny.
That is funny. So, and then your partner, what does she like to design?
She's a big lace fan, although we both were pretty obsessed with color work for a while there. We wrote a book called Strange Brew. That's where this sweater's from. And so we just really went down a little color work rabbit hole of just knitting all color work yokes all the time. I don't know if we'll ever stop doing that. It's pretty delightful. But she also really likes lace. And then we went through a bit of a cable phase most recently. So we kind of like it all, really. We're not beholden to any one style necessarily.
That's good. I mean, that's really good. And I especially like the fact that you guys have easy patterns, a little more challenging patterns, and more difficult patterns. Because like you said, there's the whole range of all of us. Yeah, the flax, that is beautiful. Yeah, that one, I was drawn to that. So, I don't know if I'll ever get to that level to be able to knit a sweater.
That one and the barley hat are probably our most knit patterns, the flax and the barley.
Yeah. The barley is really cool.
The simple collection.
Really cool.
I did working at a yarn shop for sure, because we knew that yarn shops could use those simple patterns to send people home with, because it's hard when you're starting out and you're like, oh, I'll just pick this pattern, and sometimes they're better or worse written and you don't really know what you're going to get. So
yeah.
And
you do
really
it's got to be something that you can show in just in an hour
Mm-hmm.
class, and then I got to be able to take home and do it on my own for the most part.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's scary. It's scary starting out. It is, but it's exciting when you end up with a product. So I get you. I get you.
I
What do
think
you like
it's
to work?
especially scary to learn as an adult to knit
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
learning things as an adult is much harder, right? Kids are used to
Yeah.
not knowing things. This is their whole life
Hmm.
every day. They don't know many, many things. It's no problem for them. But grown-ups, when I teach them to knit, are always, what do you mean I can't do it perfectly in this like 1 hour? And I'm
Hmm.
like, relax. Takes
Yeah,
a
and
little
we're not
practice.
used to
It's
failing.
okay to be bad at stuff.
Yeah,
No
we're
worries.
used to, yeah, we want to pick it up. We want to do it right the first time, and it's hard. And
We
then
mostly do things we're good at all day, right?
mhm, and
We're not used to not
as
knowing.
we get more mature, it's harder to remember things. Our hands
Mhm.
don't work as well as they used to. Um,
Yeah.
we get the pain. I have pain in my hands. I can't work on
Mhm.
things for 5, 6, 7 hours like I used to be able to. I'm stuck to a couple, 3
Yeah.
hours a day. And those little needles, oh good Lord. I was knitting so tight when I took that ridiculous sock class. I was knitting so tight that my knitting instructor, she's like, you can't even get the needle in there. I go, I know, because it's like this. And she's like, girl, you need to relax a little bit. So it was funny. It was hilarious. If I hadn't, spent a month and $50, it would have been laughable. But uh, I wasn't laughing a whole lot at that
I
point.
bet not.
But yeah. Um, so what's coming up on the horizon for you? What do you got coming?
Well, you'll like it. We have a new, like a small collection coming up pretty soon. It's going to be some more sort of, say, basics, things that you'll reach for sure. So we've been working on that. Yeah, that's the one that's coming up. We launched our latest book, Lazy Sunday, in the fall, so we're still recovering. Takes us quite a while,
I bet. How long does it take to
but
get
never
something
stopping.
from first idea? When she calls up and says, I've got a great idea, and you go, oh no, now what? I have one of those friends on here, trust me.
Mm-hmm,
From
mm-hmm.
that first conversation to go, here you go, here's my new book. How long does that take?
For a book, it takes quite a while. Even a pattern,
Uh-huh.
it's funny that it sort of varies a little bit. Like sometimes we have an idea, we knit the thing, and it's all done in like 2 weeks, and then pattern writing, etc. But also over the years, our process has gotten longer and longer as we sort of try to up our standards too. So we've got 2 tech editors now. We've got lots of photography and all those things. And sometimes the easier patterns are the harder ones to write because they're so simple and that you have to get it sort of perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It could be anything, it could be any stitch count, as opposed to like if it's cables, it can only be so many things.
Mm.
So sometimes those are actually the harder ones to do right, for sure.
You gotta dumb them down
So
for
the
us.
short answer is it varies wildly. Sometimes it takes us a year to finish something, and sometimes, takes us a month. So it just
Okay.
depends.
Mm-hmm. So then you've got this is a new book you've got coming out then?
It'll be a
Or
little collection. It'll be a collection
okay,
of 4 patterns coming.
4 patterns, and they're easier ones?
Yep. They're ones Robin will like, I can tell.
Okay. Okay. So, now, okay. The flex sweater is my go-to for baby gifts. That's something I wanted to
Oh, for
mention.
sure.
Your patterns, when people say size inclusive, you guys are serious about size inclusive. And because
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, there's nothing more frustrating because I'm a big girl. I'm a little fluffy. And the girls they make it difficult for patterns. And
Yeah.
sometimes I'll buy a pattern and it'll say size inclusive. And their idea of size inclusive is small to large. Trust me, that is not size inclusive. You guys mean size inclusive. And that is phenomenal. Tell us why or how that came about. And praise
it seemed
God.
like a small decision at the time. It was, we were working on our second book and we were deciding, it was our first book with adult patterns in it. So we weren't sure how to size it. And what we really wanted was to have adorable matching photos with babies and adults, because that's hilarious to us at all times. Anytime we can have matching things, it's very funny. So we decided that we wanted to size it from baby to big, is how we usually phrase it. And we used to go to 4XL, which is somewhere around a 60-inch chest. But in the last 2-3 years now, we've gone up to 70 is more what we're looking at, plus ease. So this is getting more all the time.
Well, and the thing is, when I'm measuring for crochet, knit, this kind of stuff, I measure much larger than a store-bought product, which hurts my brain, first of all. You know, I don't like that. But the reality is, if I want to make something that fits, I got to go to a 2X. And I don't buy a 2X when I'm buying clothing, but I automatically know that's where I have to go on the chart. So I know that an XL is not going to fit me. So it's very exciting to see those sizes, those bigger sizes in a chart. So I understand completely why you would have to expand from a 4X, because somebody who has to go to the store and purchase a 4X, and I mean, it's just, it isn't a true groceries or a clothing store 4X. And so it would be
even
very
clothing
important.
stores vary wildly too in what they describe as a large and extra large.
Because I can buy anything from, literally, I can buy anything from a 16 to a 22, depending on what store I walk into. And
exactly.
And so, in fact, this year for Christmas, I got 3 shirts the exact same size. 2 of them fit perfectly. One of them is like a tent, and they are all the exact same size from different stores. And so, and the sad thing is, the one that I love the best is huge on me, and it was special made for me, and it can't be returned, and I will wear it. I'll just wear something underneath of it, you know. So I'll make it work. Yeah. Cause she had my logo imprinted on it, and it's just wonderful. So, but so it's super, super important that, and I don't know about the knitting, cause there's no way I'm ever making me a sweater knitting, but it's super important. I will maybe someday, that we look at those size charts, figure out the measurements, and yes, Dana, make a gauge to make sure that they're going, because those things are just numbers. Let's pretend they're hieroglyphics and each symbol represents something. They're not actual numbers. And we just use the hieroglyphic symbol to represent which one we make for ourselves. And it's just so important if the thing's going to fit. Because if you're going to
it's important not to get hung up on what size you are, right? You want to look at the measurements for sure.
Yeah, I just had to get past that and just look at the measurement, and that symbol that looks like a number, that symbol represents that set of measurements that makes something, because that's why we hand make these things, so they fit us perfectly. Because the store-bought stuff doesn't. So I'm thankful, very thankful that you do that, because so many people do not. And that's super important. That is super important.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a 2X, 3X, depending on the day of the week. So I definitely know what it's like to go into a store and not find your size, which is super frustrating. So of course, if you're making it for yourself, you definitely want to be able to find that size. And it's funny too, it took me a long time to come to sweater knitting, like for myself. Like I was saying, I would knit, it felt like an infinite amount of knitting, a 2X sweater. But I would knit like, 6 baby sweaters, a blanket, like all kinds of things. And it turns out, spoiler, it's a finite amount of knitting and you can do it. But it took me a long time even to come to knitting them for myself. But now I love it. It's my favorite.
I want to knit a sweater, and I
Black
want
sweater. The one for you, Robin.
It's
calling your
the
flax sweater.
Yeah. Is the flax sweater kind of the sweater like equal to the vanilla socks?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. It's the first sweater.
Someday it'll get on my list. It'll get on my list.
Yeah.
So then let's talk socks. Are you a sock knitter? It's so funny because everybody thinks socks are kind of like the holy grail of knitting. And yet there's a lot of knitters that go, no, I don't do socks. I don't like to knit socks. So do you do socks?
Socks are very polarizing. I feel like people are either like, I don't knit socks or I only knit socks. But I actually do the middle. I just knit some socks sometimes.
So you're not in love with socks? Because I've actually talked to knitters. They're like, I always have socks on my needles. Always, always, always. And I'm like, very interesting. And I saw Stephen West, he's a phenomenal knitter. He's way out there as far as patterns and designs and such. He is out there. He's a little wild for my taste, but I respect him as a knitter and as a designer. But he said something the other day on one of his videos, and it was, I always have a set of socks as sort of a mindless knitting to get me from one big project to my next big project. And I thought, oh, that's an interesting take.
Like
it's just kind of it's his downtime knitting project, which to me, a pair of socks is like, if you will, a major undertaking. If for him, it's like do. So it's so funny. But so socks are his washcloth knitting. Oh, I do like to knit washcloths. Isn't that weird?
There you go. It's meditative.
So yes. So what do you guys have sock patterns?
We do. We're like kind of simple sock gals. We always design them kind of the same way. We do the heel flap, heel turn, and a gusset is the 3 sort of anatomy of a sock pieces that we do. But there are many ways. I always knit them top down from cuff to toe.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. So then the Kirchner toe?
Yeah, we graft the toe for sure. Okay. Yeah.
So a lot of people are afraid of that.
I know. It's funny. I had to look it up all the time for a long time. But now I can do it without thinking too much.
That's funny because we
got a tutorial for that.
Well, and I was just saying, again, this is coming from someone who has never actually done one. I have watched a few videos and it doesn't look scary to me. It's
not that scary.
It just seems like a fairly simple process. Again, coming from someone who's never done it. So perhaps once I've done one and fought with it a few times.
One stitch at a time, right?
One stitch at a time. Exactly. One stitch at a time. The sock class from hell that I did this year had I ever actually gotten to the toe, it was a Kirchner. There's an R in there. Kirchner. Okay. So yeah, I never actually got that far. It turned back into a ball of yarn is what it ended up doing. A lovely ball of yarn. It was magic. Yeah.
Someone asked if our inclusivity comes from our own experience. And I don't think so, because we were sizing up to 4XL when I was a large. But it has become probably more important to us over the years.
Okay.
For sure.
It's so wonderful. It is so wonderful that is something that you guys do. And I notice it on a lot of your patterns. And again, I see sweater and I go, move along, just move along. But just nothing to see here. Where's the easy stuff? But I have noticed that a lot of your stuff includes a huge range of sizes, and that's amazing. Now, see the idea. What did I see the other day that I think maybe it was the baby sweater that I thought, oh, maybe I could start with a baby sweater. Maybe that wouldn't be quite so scary. But then I'm afraid the baby's going to be this big when I start and this big when I'm done.
But they grow generally.
They do generally grow. And so you have to start out with a size 3T when the baby's not quite born yet.
That's usually the way it actually goes, is that my cousin has started 3 or 4 baby sweaters, and she has yet to finish them before they have been outgrown. Yes. I'm rooting for her this time, though. This is going to be the one.
Do you have a favorite fiber that you work with?
I love wool as a general rule. Wool is my favorite. Kind of a baby on my journey to learning about like different sheep breeds and things like that. So, wow. But Cormo is a lovely. This is what I've been working with lately. It's quite a nice wool.
You said you had some makes you were going to share with us.
Oh, sure. I have my. This is going to be scary. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
So many cables.
Oh, yeah, there it is. There's what knitters can do. Let me make you big, because that's what we need.
But like, if you've done one with just one cable down the side, I mean, it's not that different. These are all the same cable. They're just 3 over 3. So 3, and there's your cable. So that's this one. And then the ever popular, this might be after flax, our most popular sweater design is the Love Note. This is my green one. It's got a bit of lace in the middle. This one's been knit many, many times. And I always love scrolling through and seeing all the different people wearing the same sweater.
On Ravelry, where you can see what everybody has made with it.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's nice. It's always a designer's dream.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a lot of fun. I'm a bit of a sucker for a mini skein kit. I always love when dyers put together these beautiful colors that I would never think of. So this was, I got to use all my minis for this one.
So beautiful. Wow. So beautiful. Do you ever do knit-alongs?
We haven't done one in quite some time. I really like to join other people's knit-alongs.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is more what it is. We always laugh that nothing happens without a deadline, and being self-employed, you have to like make your own deadlines up and pretend that they're real all the time.
Yeah.
So I need someone else to set my knit-along deadlines, I think. So I get those. Yeah. And then I brought one more, and that one is also maybe a bit scary.
Oh my god!
It's some all over color work, and it looks complicated, but I promise it's not.
Well, hold that up again. Hold that up again. Okay. Oh my gosh! Look at all that different stuff.
All the way. Yeah.
Oh.
And they're all just like tiny little repeats. Somebody else mentioned potato chip knitting. This is a good potato chip knitting sweater.
No. Oh.
And I cheated. I used a self-striping yarn so that I didn't have to do any color changes.
Oh, so it's really just 2 yarns.
Just 2 colors, really.
So then that's like, okay, wait a minute. I knitted a hat, and it was, what was it called? I carried one of the yarns in the back, and so it had all these string things in the back, and in the front, it made a design, and the design in the front was candy canes.
Out of my sweater.
Yes. Oh wait, let me make it big again.
These are all my floats.
I gotta see it. Yes, I did that. I did that.
See, you could knit this sweater then. No problem.
I could never knit that sweater. Fair Isle. Yes, I did that. I made a hat, and it was a candy cane design. I tested a pattern for a lady. I did. And she says, I need somebody who's a brand new knitter. And I'm like, well, you don't get any more brand new than me. And she said, I need somebody I says, well, I can read a chart, I can knit, I can purl, I can count, I can do a rib. And so I says, okay, let's give it a go. And she said, how long do you think it'll take? And I go, well, give me like 6 weeks. She's like, 6 weeks? It ought to take you like a week. And I says, hey, this was your idea, not mine. And I got it done in about 2 weeks. I was very proud of myself. And it turned out really well, except you couldn't get it over my head because nobody told me you got to stretch that thing out while you're doing the
Them loose floats.
It was, and I've already mentioned I knit very, very tight. So it looked really cool, but it would fit a doll. But I did it. I did all the little floats and I carried my yarns and I did 3 colors. I had red, white, and black. I was ever so proud of myself. So yeah, I could not.
See, next one will be perfect. You just got to get those floats loose and then you're on your way.
Yeah. I want to do that again. I've got a pumpkin pattern and I want to do that again because I really, really enjoyed it. I really did enjoy. I had forgotten I did that. That's cool. That's really
I don't know. You call yourself a beginner, but I'm already hearing like you knitted a little sweater, you did some cables. Well, I think you might be a better knitter than you let me know.
I do like one thing every 3 years. I don't think that counts. That man saw my hat that I knitted. She did. She saw my little hat. It turned out I was very pleased with that hat. And it was so funny because I was I still knitting right-handed? I don't know what I was doing. I was still knitting left-handed at that point. And I was sitting next to a lady who knit right-handed. And I would do my thing. And she goes, you're twisting your yarn. Do it the other way. Do it the other way. I'm like, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, it was Connie's candy cane hat from Just Another Stitch Bear. Mm-hmm. I was one of the pattern testers with that. I was so proud of myself. But what kind of needles do you use? That's always a big
I know I worked at a yarn shop and I sort of collected all the needles that I used at that time, like 10 years ago. And so I use Addy turbos. I like the ones with the sharp tip.
I do too.
They're called rockets. So quite a few of those. But like everyone I know has an interchangeable kit. But I already had acquired many single needles.
Right.
But then as I lose them and have to replace them, you'd think that I would go for the interchangeable, but I haven't yet. But there's so many different materials out there for needles and cords and so many things.
I'm lusting after the Chiagu interchangeable kit. But they're just so bloody expensive for the teeny tiny bit of knitting that I actually do. So I've been picking up like once because the drop stitches. I find that with the cords, I'm less likely to drop stitches when I set things down and pick them up and a dog jumps in my lap. So I just treat my cords as straight needles. And so I'm just kind of picking the Chiagas up one at a time. I love the Addy rockets. Same thing. I'll grab one at a time when I see them. But yeah, what it costs to buy them individually, if I did the math, it probably would be cheaper to buy a set. But I just can't justify spending $200, $250 for an interchangeable set. And the cheaper ones, they're just crap. I did buy a couple. I bought a set at Joann's and they were so bad I literally could not knit on them. I took them back and I said, keep this. This is terrible. The cables are so stiff you can't even so I would rather spend, once in a while $15 on a pair of good needles and be able to work with them. I found that when I bought a good set of needles, it made the knitting so much nicer, so much more enjoyable. And absolutely made such a difference in my and
the good tools, right?
Yeah,
the good tools for the job.
Yeah, exactly. Buy the best tools you can afford, and it'll make the
when you knit socks. Did you use double points?
I had okay. So what they did, yes, she had us get the long cable and do that splitting thing. So let's teach somebody who's teaching knitting backwards to start with, a brand new process on these ridiculous needles. The whole process was horrible. It was just horrible. So no, I never learned that thing, whatever that magic thing was not magic. It was, it didn't go.
I don't
Let's
know if
just
you
say
would have liked double pointed needles more or less, because then you got to wrestle the porcupine. You got the 4 needles.
no. I'm going to do them when I get back to them. I've got a nice little pair of my Chiogu 9-inch little bitty cable, teeny eensy tiny. I'm going to learn. I'm going to. But
I believe it. And then you'll always have a pair of socks on your needles. You'll be one of those knitters.
I'm going to have a pair of vanilla socks. I struggled with, I mean, at some point I was figuring it out. I mean, along with all the other problems I was having, I never could figure out how to not have that great big hole where the cable was yanking on. Yeah. And every time I asked the instructor, she'd say, oh, it'll work itself out. Okay. It doesn't seem to be doing that. So 2 circular method. Oh, Cheryl. You guys have way
easier than magic loop. That's a lot of cord in my way. I magic loop everything now.
Yeah, the people that love the magic loop, they love the magic loop.
I don't have to go find my needles. That's the main thing.
And I think
when you knit a sweater like this, you need a whole bunch of pairs of needles.
I bet.
Or you can just use one if you magic loop.
Really?
Yeah.
And you don't end up with the big holes at the.
Practice.
You just get better at it. And that's the problem. When I took that class, I was so excited to take an in-person class with somebody who knows what they're doing, that can sit with me and show me what I'm doing wrong. And it just, it was, the teacher got sick in the middle of the class. So we had a different teacher in there, and we're doing the left-handed, right-handed thing. And the sock pattern they had us use it was an advanced sock pattern. It was probably well written, but there was way too many things in it. We should have been doing the vanilla sock. And there was just, it was like every possible thing that could go wrong. I'm sitting here on my channel going, okay, people, what am I doing wrong here? Because this ain't working. And it was just everything that could possibly go wrong was going wrong. And I'm just like ripping this thing out because this ain't happening. It's on my list. It's on my list.
So it might need to sit in a corner for a little bit longer. Sometimes your knits need a timeout.
Yeah, everything goes in a timeout. Oh, yeah. And the DPNs. And so far, I have DPNs. I have several sizes of them because I found a sale. I've managed to avoid using my DPNs on the 2 or 3 little hats that I've made because I made it work. Oh, this is gonna work. Okay, we'll just cinch that up, put a palm on it, good to go.
Palm hides it all. It's perfect.
Right? Palms hide it all. Yeah, I will never be over the trauma of the sock class. It did not go well. So, but I still want to do it. I still want to, because I feel like it's something I have the ability to do, and I want to do, but I don't know why. I mean,
I think you can do it.
I feel like there's a lot of people who've gone through life without learning how to knit socks, and they've managed just fine.
Well, I tell you, there is a lot of people who have mentioned to me that you can just buy socks. So
I know. And I have a lot of them in there. I have a lot of socks, more than probably a lifetime supply at this point. I don't know.
That's funny.
I just feel like it got the best of me, and it annoys me.
Oh, now you have to go back then.
Yeah, this $11 ball of yarn has gotten the best.
Can't let it beat you.
But a lot of things in my life have beaten me, so I don't know why this is the thing that I have to have control.
This is the one.
This is the one. I don't know. All right. So You guys have, in addition to all of your beautiful, lovely, amazing patterns, and oh my gosh, they are gorgeous. You also have your instructional videos, which
Mhm.
I go to time and time again because they are wonderful, and they're right there on your YouTube channel. I have
Mhm.
to be honest, I didn't realize that you had a YouTube channel. I was going to your blogs time and time again, and all of a sudden I realized you had a YouTube channel.
It's
And
not a new YouTube channel, but we've kind of recently been updating our tutorials with video. So we've been more recently adding to our YouTube channel for sure.
And
Yeah.
I love it because I'm a visual person. I like written patterns, and I think written patterns are amazing. I think they're extremely important, and I think people need to know how to read a pattern.
Mhm.
But I love the backup, just like you said. Where do I put my hook? And because I think we need to see exactly, because sometimes it doesn't matter, but a lot of times it does. And
Yeah.
I have a hole in my, I always get garter stitch and stocking mixed up, but I
Mhm.
have a hole. I'm doing this whole strip, and right in the middle of it, there's a hole because I've done
Mhm.
something wrong. I think what I did was some kind of a yarn over doohickey, and I got no clue what I did. And I thought, you know what? I don't care. I'm going to leave it there, but I'm not. I'm going to tear it out. And when we can see things, some of us are visual, and that's very important to us to be able to see those things. And so I think sometimes these videos, for those of us that are visual learners, are a great backup to the written pattern. And I think that is just amazing. Yes, I don't know why it's not. You guys know this Nightbot, he drives me insane. He's supposed to be dropping the link to her thing, and it doesn't seem to be happening. Cheryl, would you please drop her link? I don't know why it isn't. Miss Alexa is getting right close to the deadline. She's got to go take one of her kiddos to school.
It's a school
Alexa,
drop off today for
school
me.
drop off. I really, really hope that we can have you on again. This has been
Yeah.
absolutely delightful. Once you get your new set of patterns um,
Mhm.
up and running, what is your name? Oh, your name on Ravelry is just Tin Can Knits, right?
Tin Can Knits. Yep.
I know your name on YouTube is Tin Can Knits. I've got the link down below in the description box. Thank you so
So,
much. Cheryl just dropped your link to YouTube. Everybody run over and subscribe to her over there.
yeah.
And it is tincannknits.com is her blog, and where you can go and buy all of her patterns, also on Ravelry. I love, love, love buying patterns on Ravelry because it stores them right there and you don't have to go search for stuff.
That's right.
It's the best. It's the best. That's where I have my 1,000 patterns that I'll never all get all done. Um, just go buy their stuff. And apparently I have to go get that sweater pattern.
Flax. It's free.
Oh, even
Just
better.
give it a try.
Give it a try. And I'm going to go look for sock patterns. I can do
Excellent.
it. I can do it. All right. Thank you ever so much, Alexa, for
Yeah. Thanks so
joining
much for
us.
having me.
This has just been an absolute delight. And your makes are stunning. I am so,
Thank you.
so, they're just beautiful. Thank you guys ever so much. We'll see you next Monday for bingo. Don't forget it's 4:30 Pacific. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.